This episode of Lawyers Tell All is brought to you by Law Firm Conversions. If your law firm's phone is ringing, that only means your marketing is successful. It's what happens when the phone is answered that will drive your success or failure. Visit www.intakeacademy.com and claim your free copy of Chris Mullen's groundbreaking book for lawyers and law firms that gets every call converting to become a profitable client, showing you the steps you need to take to ensure the right person is answering the phone and answering it correctly. Welcome to the Lawyers Tell All podcast, where Chris Mullins, the preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry, shows you how it looks through lawyers' eyes. Here, innovators in the trenches provide powerful insights that help you connect with new clients, handle the sometimes harsh realities of the legal profession, and embrace the mindsets needed to succeed. Be sure to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, tune in, and let's take a deep dive.
Hello, everyone. It's Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All, and today I am interviewing attorney Alyssa Devine. How are you, Alyssa?
Good. How are you?
I am super. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah.
So my name is Alyssa Devine, and I'm founder of Purple Fox Legal. So it is a law firm that I created during the pandemic that focuses on helping small business owners and creatives with, the intellectual property that they have, as well as, the business side of things. So a lot of contract drafting and compliance issues, and basically just focusing on educating people about those types of things, why it's important, the potential consequences of not taking care of those things, in addition to sort of adding value for people.
So is your law firm it's a business, you work with businesses, like a business law firm, or is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So I practice business and intellectual property law, and more so on the small business and creative side. So I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee. So of course there's the music industry there, as well as other types of sort of creatives. But that's kind of where my focus is.
Okay, so when you say creatives, do you mean that that's your clientele?
Correct.
Okay, got
Correct.
it.
So there's some, well, I consider entrepreneurs to be creative. So you have to be very creative in how you run a business, especially in a post-pandemic world with, finite resources that entrepreneurs have or typically have. But then also sort of the more traditional types of creatives, so musicians and actors and influencers and things like that as well.
Okay. So what's your perfect client?
My perfect client is probably going to be somebody who is, very passionate about what they do, which really is most entrepreneurs, but also somebody who's willing to try new things and grow. I think that's really important for an entrepreneur. And, something I think I struggle with, myself a little bit because of my legal education and sort of low risk tolerance, I'll say. But I think it's really important to try new things so that you can experiment and grow with your business. And part of that is, okay, well, how do we use, really old law and apply it in new ways so that we can continue, evolving how we do things, but also at the same time, of course, staying legally compliant and reducing risk. So that's the challenge that I have and that I, work with clients to resolve.
Yeah. So can you give an example of taking old law and using it in new ways?
I think right now a lot of that conversation is around artificial intelligence. So how do we use really old law, like 20 years or older, in this context? And it's challenging. It is challenging, and we don't have a lot of guidance for this, but there are there's some arguments kind of on both sides of things. But we have a really big class action lawsuit in California against OpenAI, which used a lot of different authors, content to, train its AI program. And that case is still ongoing. So again, we don't have a lot of guidance, but that the judge in that case did sort of narrow some of those claims and held that the output that the artificial intelligence creates is not a derivative work of the author's, books and things like that. So we do have, an answer for at least, a very, very small part of that, but it is challenging. It is challenging. So that's something that we're having those kind of conversations with, my clients, and people in the industry are having those kind of conversations. Like, what do we do about this? And we also see things like the No Fakes Act. That Congress recently proposed to create a federal right of publicity bill, and for those right of state-based individual, the image, likeness, voice signature, things like that. It's not just saying name, image, likeness. It's really any kind of unequivocal identifying feature. But that's kind of, and that again also plays a part in this sort of AI conversation, because we have a lot of these like deep fakes and things like that. We saw a couple, I think maybe a month or so ago, we had a kind of an ad that looked like Tom Hanks, sounded like Tom Hanks, but it was not Tom Hanks, and he let people know that. And I believe there's actually an ongoing lawsuit with Scarlett Johansson involving a similar situation. So we're seeing a lot of technology, which of course has a lot of benefits and stuff. But how do we sort of reconcile these benefits with sort of the limitations that need to be put in place so that we can protect individuals' property? That's kind of the overarching question here, in terms of all this new technology, applying the old law with the new technology, and that's it's a work in progress for sure.
I'm curious, how do you see AI affecting law firms in general?
I think that AI has a lot of benefits. There's really no doubt about that. I think that lawyers are, in general, kind of as a whole, are very, traditional, and kind of, sometimes even stuck in their ways. So there's been a lot of resistance, I think, as an industry to using AI in any way, shape, and form. I think that's a mistake. But then I also think it's, equally a mistake not to learn about these types of technologies, because then we see things like there was a disciplinary case in New York where an attorney used AI to draft a motion, and it, came up with a bunch of fake cases. That's it's definitely not what we need to be doing either. So, and the attorney said, oh, well, I didn't know that, AI could do that, create fake cases. Well, like, that's part of the responsibility of an attorney. You have to know how these technologies work. You don't have to be an expert, but you have to know, okay, well, where is this tool getting its data from? And, what are the potential flaws of the output you'll receive. So, things like that I think are really, really important. So, and in terms of AI, specifically for, use of law firms, I think it's really important to use some sort of closed universe. So, you have like Lexis and Westlaw. Well, those types of they have the different AI features, right? But those AI features are drawing data from cases, a closed universe. It's not just from anywhere from the internet. It's specific, it's credible documents and resources, I'll say.
Well, I mean, I know that it can be used in law firms. And I think if it can be used in law firms, it can be used anywhere. So you can just take what we're saying and kind of transfer it into whatever it is. But using AI for intake and for customer service and for, drafting client documents. So, and robotic kind of voices handling intake, and you're never really talking to a live person. So things like that. But I think AI is great. I think as long as it's being used in a way that's, on the up and up, so to speak. Like it's giving a good experience, it's doing what it's supposed to do. And we're not like, there's no trying to claim information as yours when it's not really yours and things like that. I mean, with anything, there's going to be bad apples. There's just, there will be, but it will pass. I don't think it's a forever problem. We're going to go through this and then it'll pass and then there'll be something else, some other kind of brand new thing going on, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, we saw this, or at least, a similar process, when we had, streaming introduced. Well, oh my gosh, streaming, and especially, in the music industry, that, really made a big impact. But then, we came up with the Music Modernization Act to kind of address that. So it's a give and take. It's a process where we're having that conversation. There's been a lot of, there's been a lot of government agencies like the U.S. Copyright Office that have done a lot of different, investigations on, how AI impacts these, these laws. And, we're getting there is what I'll say. We're getting there. We don't have all the answers. But we're making progress. We're making progress.
Yeah. Okay. And so how long have you had your own firm for now? It's only a short time, right?
Yes, very short time. So just a little over 2 years.
Yeah. So you started it in the crazy, crazy time.
I did.
Yeah. So
I did. Right.
Talk about the purple.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I created my law firm during the pandemic, and I was just very adamant about practicing business and intellectual property law. That's what I wanted to do. And that's, I was just very adamant that that was the role that I was going to take. And at that time, there were a lot of, well, pretty much all law firms were laying off people with, 10 or more years of experience. So there just really weren't many opportunities for me to pursue. So I kind of had to make my own opportunity by creating my own law firm. And during the pandemic, there wasn't a lot of, physical in-person meetings or anything like that. Right. So I recognized that I had to be distinctive online, and I did not want to use my last name. I wanted to create a brand, and I was very intentional about that.
Right.
So, and I did a lot of different research and kind of exploring different options, and came up with Purple Fox Legal.
I'm looking away a little bit, everybody, just because I'm looking at you. Everybody should get your website and put it up there, purplefoxlegal.com. So if I look away, that's why. Okay, go ahead.
That's okay. That's what a lot of people do. They're like, oh, well, yeah, I need to see this. But yeah, so the purple represents wisdom and creativity, very, very, good qualities and traits of entrepreneurs. Yeah. And then the fox is kind of represents cleverness and getting out of tricky situations, which, often attorney helps out with as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of symbolism there, but, what made me decide on that specific name was, a couple of different things. So it was easy to spell, easy to pronounce, had the available domain name, the available social media handles, and it was actually a really strong trademark. It was there's a distinctiveness spectrum when it comes to word trademarks. So that was also something I was very cognizant about. And I wanted to sort of practice what I preach. A lot of what I do is trademark. So I wanted to show people I knew what I was talking about, got a registration, everything like that. So I can, I walk the walk and talk the talk, you know what I mean? So just kind of showing people that I'm doing what I'm preaching.
Yeah. And so how is business for you?
So it was really interesting, I think, because it was a little slow at first because, the pandemic and stuff, but just within, a couple of months of starting my business and going to some different networking events, I actually got like an email maybe 3 or 4 months after I started my business. And it was this marketing company who wanted to do an interview with me for a podcast. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I was pretty new to the Nashville area. And I was just kind of like, who is this? Like, is this real? Is this a real person? And it was actually somebody who's, pretty well ingrained within the female entrepreneurship community in Nashville. And she told me, oh, well, I kept hearing about Purple Fox. And I was like, I just needed to meet you.
Great.
I just needed to meet who was behind Purple Fox. And it's just a very distinctive name.
Yeah, it is.
And, it is. And even when I go to networking events, even now, I still have people come up to me and they'll be like, I don't remember your name, but you're Purple Fox, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's right.
That's awesome.
And I'm not offended. I'm not offended at all, because I'd rather them remember my business name than my name. And I think it's easier for them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's totally fine by me. So, but it's flattering, and it's, it's kind of just one of those. I mean, I took a really big risk doing that, but it's been very rewarding.
That's awesome. So are your glasses purple?
They are not. They're black.
Okay.
Purple. A lot of questions. Purple, your favorite color? Well, not really. It's more of that like marketing psychology symbolism versus anything else. I mean, you could also argue perhaps that my clients get sort of the royal treatment for customer service and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really that kind of psychological, connotation that I was really attracted to, and wanted to use. And that's a very unique color for lawyers too.
It's time for purple glasses, a purple outfit, a purple pocketbook or briefcase, the purple shoes. Let's get going here.
It's really hard to find purple clothing that's not like a really light lavender, at least that I find. But yeah, some other purple things are a little easier to find. But yeah, it's been a really interesting experience, but rewarding.
That's awesome.
Kind of a blessing in disguise.
That's excellent. I love it. So, what advice do you have for everyone? I mean, your listeners are predominantly law firms, predominantly attorneys, managing partners, CEOs, but of all different kinds of practice areas.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think that as a legal industry as a whole, we're not very good business owners, and that's sort of been statistically shown through a lot of different, resources. I was very intentional about addressing those sorts of, stereotypes and researching things like with the Clio legal trends reports and things like that. So, I think it's really important to have systems and processes in place where you are, promptly responding to people whenever they, either reach out by phone or email or anything like that, and even if they're reaching out about something that's not really within their practice area, I think it's still important to respond and just say, hey, this is really outside of our practice areas. And, but I, think that you should probably, call your local, bar association, and they could probably recommend somebody, that's, a better fit for you, something like that, because, lawyers do have a negative stereotype. And sort of, I think a lot of people think of lawyers as sort of these sort of, I guess, sort of arrogant beings in the, ivory tower. And that's mm-hmm. kind of the perception a lot of people have. And while I'm sympathetic to that, I think that it doesn't have to be that way. I think that being, a little bit more approachable, personable, I think being a little bit more humble is kind of the way to go, is the kind of the future, or should be the future of legal practice. Because in order to really help people, you have to be able to communicate with them. They have to feel comfortable being vulnerable with you. Because if you don't have that information, it's a lot harder to help them. And, if you get surprised later on by information you should have had, several months ago, then that can really put you in a bind, and you're doing your client a disservice. So I think those sorts of things are really important. But I would definitely emphasize that responsiveness. You have to be responsive. Like, even if you don't have the answer right off the bat, which normally people don't, just be like, hey, I got your email, and I'll get back to you. Like, something as simple as that can change somebody's entire perspective on your firm's customer service. Mm-hmm. And I say that, from a business owner perspective, but also as a consumer perspective. If I get that kind of response from a company, I'm, obviously much more likely to, keep going back to that company versus if I don't get a response at all, or even like a week later, like that's going to, you know, turn me off, and that's going to incentivize me to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as much automation as you can do without losing the experience part of it. So I think automation is really important and frequent touching, but you got to integrate some human stuff too, you know, so that's the only thing that
I think it's like a kind of a balancing act between those two things, because of course, you know, automating things is more efficient, less costly, but at the same time, too much of that is going to turn people off because they want that human interaction.
Yeah.
So I would agree with that.
Yeah.
What you said.
100%.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like everybody to know?
I think there's, you know, in general, I think there's been an underutilization or maybe even misunderstanding about intellectual property and its importance, you know, even for law firms. So, you know, I intentionally didn't want to use my last name as a law firm name. And I know that, you know, some states, you know, have certain regulations that kind of don't allow that sort of thing. But, you know, there's still, you know, things like taglines and, you know, copyrights and things like that that I think are important, even for attorneys to think about with their business in addition to their client. If that's, you know, clientele, it's underappreciated, undervalued. I think in general, intellectual property, really all the types of intellectual property. So you have, you know, patents, of course, but then trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, and publicity rights, all I think are really important to consider. And, you know, if you're a managing partner, managing member of your firm, well, you're going to be the face of your firm. And whether you realize it or not, you're actually going to be utilizing your publicity rights, at least a little bit, to help promote your firm. And that's something I think a lot of attorneys probably don't realize or appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah. A good point. So how can everybody get in touch with you? I see you've got schedule a free consult on your website. Is that what you recommend?
Yes, that's definitely the easiest way. But then there's also, you can also, you know, call on our number on our website, or send an email to hello@purplefoxlegal.com. And I am pretty responsive, as long as it doesn't go to my spam. I am pretty responsive. But definitely the website, and and then also have, you know, the blog articles and ebooks and things like that to check out as well that are really helpful for people.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Alyssa.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so purplefoxlegal.com. I just like saying it. And it's hello@purplefoxlegal.com. And when you go to the website, you can get a free consultation. And so long, everybody. We'll see you real soon. Lawyers Tell All. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Lawyers Tell All, where Chris Mullins takes you on a journey with lawyers in the trenches who show you the realities of what it takes to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, ever-changing profession. Remember to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Lawyers Tell All.